if you want to be a race driver, you got to have a great desire that you want to do it. That's number one. And normally if you got a desire and the will to do something, you put forth a lot of extra effort to do that. You got to have that desire. If you got the desire, you'll find a way.
Joey Ray was practically born with that very desire to race despite all odds. Born in 1921, young Joey grew up near a local fairground speedway and could hear the engines roar around the track each weekend. The sound fascinated him. When he reached the age of 13, Joey asked his father, a successful Louisville banker, if he could run down to the local Chevy dealership and grab an entry blank to the Soapbox Derby so that he could become a racer.
When I entered the Soapbox Derby, and I just thought I was going to be allowed to race in it. When I went out to my application, they gave it to me. I carried it. Oh, my parents had it signed. I carried it home. My father signed it. I carried it back to the dealership, and I was just as happy as I could be. And when we went with the car to enter, and they told us we couldn't enter, I was hurt. They said, no color allowed. And my father got very, very upset about it, and I did too. I think I cried. After the Soapbox Derby incident, and I was so hurt and everything, looking back, at that time I didn't pay a lot of attention to what my father, number one, he instilled in me that all white people weren't bad, all white people weren't prejudiced. He always felt as time went on, things were definitely going to change.
The incident at the Soapbox Derby in his youth did little to deter young Joey Ray. He worked hard to become a mechanic's apprentice to celebrated sprint car drivers like Wild Bill Cantrell, Chick Smith, and Spider Webb, waiting one day for his number to come in.
Joey doesn't shy away from admitting he liked little gambling. He liked to play the numbers. But he saw a race car down south for $450, and every week he'd play the numbers. And it was time to lay down a $1 tab or something, and he said, I'll take number 450. And the lucky number was 450. He won $500, and that's how he bought his first race car.
And with that $500, Joey Ray became a race car owner and driver. But practically from his very first race, the young African-American driver encountered resistance from local crowds.
It was Joey's second race in Johnson County, Indiana. And Johnson County was known to be a hotbed for the KKK back in that decade. And he was starting on the pole of the sprint car race, and the track announcer said, well, who the hell is that nigger out there in number 7?
Chick Smith and Bill Cantrell, two of the competitors, got out of their cars and went up into the announcing booth and had a little chat with the announcer.
As they held the mic closed with their hand, there was this great discussion, and pretty soon they came back down, and then with great dignity and pomp and circumstance, the announcer said,
Ladies and gentlemen, in the red number 7, that's Joey Ray, the world's greatest colored race driver, because they still use that term a lot back in that area, you know.
Those other drivers, those white drivers, felt in their heart the insult, the injustice of that moment, took it upon themselves to say, hey, look, pal, this isn't how it's going to be. And maybe for whatever reason, whatever motivation, that was their way of trying to make the world just a little bit better in their own little corner on that day.
Joey's early determination paid off. He soon caught the eye of the highly successful race promoter, Al Sweeney.
My first race for Sweeney was in Des Moines, Iowa, and I met him in the motel room, and we had a nice long talk, and he was just as nice as he could be. And he explained to me the situation. That was Jackie Robinson's first year in baseball, but he broke the color line there. And he said, Joey, I've heard a lot about you, and I've watched your career in the racing papers and everything, so I'd like to make you the Jackie Robinson of automobile racing.
If Jackie Robinson was significant in breaking the color barrier in baseball, Jackie Robinson did so because he had an iron will and a fiery competitive nature, and everyone could see that. In Joey Ray's case, you're dealing with one of the most uncommonly wonderful and friendly human beings on the face of the earth. I mean, if you didn't like Joey Ray, then your problems extended far more than just being a racist. You just didn't like people.
But just like Jackie Robinson, Joey Ray often found a sporting public not yet willing to embrace the notion of integration. On the track, Joey endured many threats. Off the track, he found new places willing to rent him a room or serve him a meal. During the 1960s, lunch counters were familiar battlegrounds for the civil rights movement, but in 1947, a lone diner was the scene for a far less dramatic but no less significant encounter that captured a quiet victory for human dignity.
A number of the racing drivers and mechanics were in a restaurant, 15, 20 of them, at a big long table, and Joey and another couple of guys come in later to want to have dinner.
And when we got to the door, we was met by the hostess and said, "What do you all want?" We said, "We'd like to eat." She says, "We don't serve colored." Looking around, I could see other drivers there, and several of the drivers got up from the table and came over and said, what's the problem here, miss?
These white race drivers said, "Hey, wait a minute. Bring the manager over here. We're all eating steak. We're all going to pay for these meals as long as they come in and join us. You turn them away, we're going to eat these steaks, and we're leaving, and we're not paying."
The restaurant owner obviously makes a wise business decision and says, "Oh, he's with you? Well, come on in by all means." That's the sort of quiet steps that were taken at that time to say, hey, he's just like us. We're not going to tolerate this crap of you treating him any differently.
Joey Ray broke the AAA color line in 1950. On the day he earned his AAA certification, while many of his friends were cheering him on from the pit area, Joey still encountered resistance from a driver he would only identify as Norm.
One guy was going to talking to drivers, 1 and 2 at a time, and pointing at me. But he didn't say anything to me. So he was talking loud enough that I could hear what he was saying. Said he didn't want that guy running with us. Don't you feel the same way, and things like that. So I go to Spiderweb, and Spiderweb said, "Look, you a man, I'm a man. Your blood's red, my blood's red. You pass your test, you're a race driver, and I'm a race driver. To hell with Norm." Norm and I, even though he'd been racing AAA for a long time, he was back in the third heat, right back here with me. Even though this was my first race. We started side by side. He doesn't look at me, but I stared at him, turned my head, and I said to myself, if I don't beat anybody, I'm gonna beat this damn Norm. And I beat him.
Joey Ray had to go through all these obstacles, these attitudes, these prejudices. He took all those slings and arrows, and he saw the good in people. He saw the good in the sport. He saw the good in his competitors. He didn't waste time dwelling about the negatives.
Joey's career spanned from 1947 to 1963, competing mostly in sprint and midget cars, but in some stock car races as well. He once nearly got his big break to race at the Indianapolis 500 when he received a call from actor Eddie Anderson, who played Rochester on the popular Jack Benny Show. Anderson was backing a team at Indy and wanted Joey as its driver. But before planning could begin, family problems crippled Anderson's personal fortune and destroyed any chances of Joey becoming the first African American to run at Indy.
When I went to Indy in '91, my first year at Indy, Joey Ray was there every day. Every day. And you could tell that he wanted to give me the support, and I wanted his support. And when I did make the race, when I qualified to race in the 500 in '91, the look in his eyes was pretty emotional. You could see that there was happiness, but you could see there was pain too. You know, there was pain that he wanted to be there, and time wasn't on his side.
To achieve the things that I did in automobile racing, to be the first Afro-American to run AAA, which is now USAC, having a chance at the Indy 500, and I don't have any regrets that I didn't actually make it, but to become that close and to have the chance and to race with the Indy 500 drivers on these other tracks, I just feel blessed. And I feel like I accomplished a whole lot in life that I wanted to.